allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yes, I do. Right. Moving on to roll call. Chief of Staff Peterson, would you please call the roll? Senators Anderson,
Here.
Barnett, Bolweg,
Here.
Fry,
Here.
Christoffels,
Here.
Darringe,
Aye.
Duncan,
Here.
Holland,
Here.
Howell,
Here.
Jensen,
Here.
Campson,
Here.
Lopez, Mollison,
Here.
Huddell,
Here.
Pulse,
Here.
Roca,
Here.
Shemek,
Here.
Smith,
Present.
Stein,
Here.
Werfa,
Here.
Diversity Liaison Alex, Communications Chair Ringenberg,
Here.
Finance Chair Delahoy,
Here.
Government Affairs Chair Hunt,
Here.
Chief of Staff Peterson here, Vice President Sierra,
Here.
President Spear,
Here.
AFA, unexcused, AISA,
Here.
BSA,
Here.
GSA,
Here.
HERO,
Here.
IRC,
Here.
LASA,
Here.
RHA,
Here.
Unified Council,
Here.
Unified Council,
Here.
UPC,
Here.
Dr. Schmidt, excused, Dr. Willis.
Here.
All right, moving on to adoption of the agenda. Are there any additions or corrections to the agenda tonight? Finance Chair Delahoy.
I move to waive the first reading of resolution 25-5.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Are there any objections to waiving the first reading of resolution 25-5-R? Seeing none, we'll do a voice vote for this one. All in favor of waiving the first reading of resolution 25-5-R, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? No. Any further additions or corrections to the agenda tonight? All right. All those in favor of adopting the amended agenda, please signify by saying aye. Oh, that's my bad. Is there a motion to approve the agenda? Senator Stein. All right. All those in favor of approving the agenda, please signify by saying aye. All opposed? Agenda is approved. With the minutes, any additions or corrections to the minutes tonight? Is there a motion to approve the minutes? Senator Stein. All those in favor of approving the minutes, please signify by saying aye. All opposed? Minutes are approved. Moving on to, moving on to open forum item A, Dr. Daniel Scholl, the Vice President of Research and Economic Development for South Dakota State University.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to be with you this evening. I look forward to talking with you and ask you if you've got your phone handy, take it out for a moment. And I'm not going to ask you to turn it off. So your phone, we have these phones, which are part of our daily lives. We can't imagine working, doing what we do without them, but they exist because somebody, a lot of people, did research a long time ago, recently. Those who were engaged in research a long time ago were inventing technologies and developing fundamental knowledge that they had no idea, some of them, that would culminate in a tool like this that now is so natural to our lives. That's why we do research, to develop new technologies, new ideas that can enter into our daily lives and make a difference in how we live. The research that underlies our smartphones is fundamental research, physics, engineering, electronics, software engineering, but also, and fundamental research is done predominantly at universities. But private sector research takes the fundamental research ideas and combines them together into innovations that can serve a function or fill a need in the marketplace. And that's how we get things like phones that improve every year, year after year after year after year, because of basic research followed by public-private partnered research and further private sector innovations. And that's what we do here at SDSU in our research. The research pathway really goes back to when Abraham Lincoln was president of the United States in the around the 1860s, and the land-grant university system was invented in the form of the Morrill Act, named after Justin Morrill from Vermont. The land-grant university was designed on a new university format. That was a format that added to the education mission the mission of research, to combine the two together so that the people, the experts, who were engaged in teaching students and preparing them for the next phase of life, or really for their entire careers, those experts could also invest their expertise in new ideas, in investigating new ideas. These are the people who are together, who are working together around the concept of leading edge knowledge and creating more knowledge. And that's what research and education in the land-grant university like SDSU is really about. Two things. The two things that we do here primarily. We create new knowledge. That's our research, scholarship, creative activity. We also disseminate that knowledge. That's our educational programs, our degree programs, outreach, but especially our educational programs, the programs that you all are involved in. And so it's natural that the educational institution where you have invested yourselves to prepare for the next steps of your lives is also a place that's the home and the springboard of research ultimately designed to improve life. A few examples of research that we do at SDSU that you may not know about, but that help to establish the full breadth of research, scholarship, and creative activity at SDSU. First of all, we have research involving the replacement of artificial red and yellow dyes. Those are the dyes that are used in foods, in pharmaceuticals, in other products, cosmetics, and so on. But we have research that's very active right now, finding natural sources of red and yellow dyes that can replace red and yellow dyes in food products. And that will become critically important as new federal policies come into effect that limit or eliminate the use of artificial or synthetic dyes. This research is bioprocessing research, where yeast are grown with yeast cells with certain characteristics are fermented and grown and then broken apart, and the dyes, the particular molecules that convey the red or yellow colors or variations of those are separated and then made available to put into products. So that's one thing that we're doing here that's very unique. Another example of SDSU research that's currently ongoing is the use of artificial intelligence and flow dynamics in a mechanical engineering environment for pharmaceutical makers. It's a tool is being developed for pharmaceutical makers to evaluate how respiratory inhaled pharmaceuticals are distributed in the body, so that they can shorten the time to development of a pharmaceutical that's useful for treating respiratory disease by being able to predict exactly where the active components of the pharmaceuticals are deposited when the pharmaceutical product or formulation is inhaled. So again, very practical research. That's an example of fundamental research that had been done previously on artificial intelligence and flow dynamics, combined with a private sector driven need, produces a tool that the private sector that can then use to improve human health. And this is research that's done in partnership with a respiratory pharmaceutical company. And the third, the third will surprise you, I think. A few years ago, SDSU, through an internal competition, sponsored a research or a creative activity project in the School of Performing Arts that enabled one of our wind professors to explore new music, create an ensemble to perform that music, develop or record an album, and that album is now in the running for a Grammy Award. That's a long process, so there's a lot that needs to happen between now and the Grammy nominations. But this output of SDSU research, scholarship, and creative activity in the performing arts is on the pathway to be recognized as a Grammy nominee. Can you imagine that coming from SDSU? That's exciting to me. That's one reason I love my job, is because of these kinds of outcomes. These three examples are examples of things that just wouldn't happen if our experts, our faculty experts, weren't gathered here and if they weren't involved in our education programs. So what do we do in the Division of Research to enable this? What we do is we assist faculty in raising funds to do their research, scholarship, and creative activity. We assist in developing relationships with funding partners, governmental agencies, private sector partners. And we also assist with the compliance functions that are necessary to meet the obligations of our sponsors. Compliance from everything from conflict of interest to even export control compliance, public access to the results of our work, things like that. So one of the things that SDSU is striving to do under its 7-year strategic plan, Pathway to Premier 2030, is to gain recognition for its growing research enterprise and its impact. And that's what is really behind the goal of striving for recognition as a Carnegie Research 1 or R1 university classification, to have our growth as a university active in the research sphere recognized by those who look at characteristics of universities, colleges, and universities, and recognize that SDSU is in that top category. So that's what we're striving for, and that includes not only the research that we do, but the research education accompanying it, especially the education that ultimately culminates in PhD or doctoral level education, which is preparing the next generation of researchers and scholars at the highest level. Now, what about you? How does research impact you, or how can you get involved with it? Number one, be curious, feed your curiosity. Number two, to get involved, talk to the experts around you. You're surrounded now with more experts in research and scholarship, more people who are experts in their fields, perhaps than at any other time in your career. Take advantage of that. And then I would say also, my office, the Division of Research and Economic Development, would love to hear from you at what would make it more feasible for you to engage in or to profit from the research that's ongoing at SDSU, so that this becomes an experience that you can use to differentiate yourself as you leave here and go into the next phase of your career. And if there's time, I'd be happy to have discussion or stop.
Questions?
Yes, sir.
So with the goal of reaching and being established as an R1 university, how do you see that like impacting the economic development of the university and just like the overall research output, like let's say like 5 to 10 years after our establishment?
Thank you very much for your question, and I'm going to expand it beyond economic development for the university to economic development for the region as well, because that's an important part of it. One of the things that being recognized as an R1 university accomplishes is it communicates to other people that SDSU has a reputation and a capability of reliably, consistently getting things done. If you can't get things done well, you'll never reach the R1 criteria. And so it sets SDSU apart as a university that's capable. With that reputation comes more opportunities because people invest, people look for assistance from where they know they can depend on it. Now, what happens when a university is in that category and its reputation rises simply because of what it took to achieve that recognition, it's easier to recruit talent. It's easier to recruit people into the community because it has a community effect also by the amount of new knowledge that spills over into the community, into the economy. When you graduate and you go somewhere with what you gain here, you take with you something special. And if that something special is also associated with a rising reputation, you take that with you, and that makes it easier for wherever you are to also recruit talent and to be innovative. And so it's like a snowball, really, a snowball effect. Is that clear? Other questions? Or challenges? Do you disagree with what I said? When no one asks questions, you know, either you answered all of the questions there are, or no one believes you and they've already decided it's not worth the effort. I'm serious about inviting you to communicate to the Division of Research. We have several email portals through which you can communicate, but communicate to us ideas, questions, concerns that you have about your abilities to engage in the research enterprise of the university, because it's not just about creating new knowledge and then teaching it. It's about creating new knowledge with students participating in that so that they learn the research method, so that you learn the research method as we're doing what we do. Yes, sir.
When do you think we would reach that like R1? Do you have a projected? I know the goal is by 2030. Do you have like a
Yeah, so our initial projections were 2031, possibly 2033 with confidence. And the classifications are performed every 3 years. With the changes going on in the federal funding environment, we expect that's going to have an impact. That hasn't taken enough shape yet for us to really know how to model out any slowdown that we may experience. So it may be 2033, it may be later, whether that's 36 or 39, it's really not possible to say right now. But we're well on the way. There are two criteria: total research expenditures, which is, it's a limited measure of the size of the university's research enterprise, but it's what's available. We far and away exceed that criteria. The criteria is $50 million per year. We do $94 million per year. The other criteria is the number of PhD degrees awarded per year. The threshold is 70. We award between 30 and 50 every year. It's very volatile. It bounces around a lot. Well, that's quite a long process. If you enroll PhD students today, it's 4, 5, or 6 years before they receive their PhD degrees. However, over the last 2 years, our PhD student enrollment has grown from 230 to 280. So we're well on the way. What we'd really like to achieve is an enrollment of 330 or so per year.
do like PharmDs like count toward that, or is that like a different, has to be like straight?
It doesn't have to be PhD, but it has to be a research-based doctoral degree. So PharmDs, MDs, if we add a medical school, wouldn't count towards it. DVMs don't count towards it. Doctor of Nursing Practice doesn't, but PhDs.
Okay.
Other questions? Well, thank you very much. I hope to see you again.
The chair can designate anyone to preside over the Senate. At this time, I will designate Vice President Sear for the remainder of open forum agenda item B.
Perfect. Yeah, and I want to welcome up representatives from the Green Bandana Student Organization to the podium for open forum item B. You guys can come up.
Hi, I would just first like to say thanks for having us. We're the Green Bandana Project. I'm Morgan.
I'm Kaylee.
So first we'll start, what is the Green Bandana Project? The Green Bandana Project is a national mental health initiative aimed at suicide and crisis prevention by connecting students and strengthening support systems within universities. The Green Bandana Project members undergo QPR training, which is question, persuade, and refer training, and take the Green Bandana Project oath in order to wear their green bandana and disperse mental health resources for the students.
For our campus community, we intend to bring a positive effect of fostering a supportive community that advocates for our peers and aims to end the stigma surrounding suicide. Suicide is the third leading cause of death for people ages 15 to 24. So we intend to unite against this epidemic as a community and advocate for increased awareness.
Okay, so how many people are currently interested? So right now we have started an Instagram page, and that currently has 116 followers. And several organizations around campus have expressed interest in having their members wear a bandana. And once we are established as an RSO, we plan to formally reach out to interested clubs and plan their training with us.
In regards to funding this club, we have to pay the national registration fee of $600 for the initial year and then $300 for subsequent years following. We plan to charge $10 of due per member and participate in stadium cleanups here on campus. It is our goal to apply for the new venture fund. However, we would like to establish our financial independence prior to approaching the finance chair.
Any questions? Yes.
Yeah, so in reading your constitution, I was looking at Article 3, Section 4, where it talks about the different types of members. And part of the criteria for the different types of membership are completing the required training. So what I'm wondering is, anywhere in your constitution, is there the set of statutes or the set of requirements to, basically tell future iterations of this organization, this is what exactly you need to complete and how much you need to complete before you can graduate to the different types of members?
Yeah. That's a great question. I'm gonna ask for help on that one.
Yeah, so for training, it's not specifically referenced in the Constitution due to the fact that it could potentially change, and constitutional changes can sometimes be pretty difficult. However, in our bylaws, there is plans to be a pretty clear definition of that. In addition, also, all of our members are very aware of what that is, and then how we can continue that to the next executive team would be a transition meeting.
Just for clarification, this is a national affiliated organization, so would your training also be with a national affiliated?
Yeah.
So it follows all of their guidelines?
Yeah, so right now we're planning on doing our QPR training with our lovely Miller Wellness Center counseling services. And then in addition, we're looking to break up the TGBP. It's about a 3-hour training, so we want to give our students ample time to not only fit their schedules for the training, but also be able to do that. So our goal right now is to split that up in between 3 different sessions.
How do you plan to handle any unintended consequences regarding this?
You got it.
Good evening, Teresa Seefelt, and I am going to be one of the advisors for the organization. And it's an excellent question that you asked, because we will be interacting with students who might be potentially conveying some personal information. And that will be part of the training, first of all, of how to handle those types of situations. So when we're going through the Green Bandana Project onboarding, as well as the QPR training, we'll talk about some of those types of things. We also intend to have others on campus come in to participate in that training. For example, we've connected with the Title IX office, and they're going to come in and talk about how to handle situations that a student might express to one of the Green Bandana Project members. I also really want to convey that this is not turning a student into a counselor. It is really about our students having an understanding of the resources and being able to communicate that information about the resources, help to connect their peers to those resources that are available on campus.
I guess, no, you're totally good. I guess I kind of have like a little follow-up. Will students have to like sign a DocuSign or anything like that, like regarding the like private student information? Like, should that arise?
Yes, there are forms that the Green Bandana Project provides that anyone who wants to wear the green bandana would need to sign.
And then I'm sorry, one more. Will students be mandatory reporters?
So the question was about mandatory reporters, and in our conversations with the Green Bandana Project, as well as individuals on campus that work with that, for the most part, they will not be mandatory reporters. If a student is an employee, they might fall into that category. And so then there would be some additional training and information provided to those students to make sure that they know how to communicate that information to the appropriate party.
Are there any other questions? Thank you, guys. All right, I will now entertain a motion to approve the Green Bandana Project Constitution. Finance Chair Delhoyd. All right, is there, Finance Chair Delhoyd, first right to debate.
Yeah, so when I look at this, I think that it's just a really good opportunity to be able to give more mental health resources to our students. When I look at the liability side of this, I think of different clubs such as like Pheasants Forever and Ducks Unlimited, where like when we were approving their constitutions, we weren't. The liability is also huge there because like they're out there sponsoring hunts. They're going hunting with people. Like there's a huge risk there too, like safety and stuff. Like when I look at those different liability aspects and stuff, that's something where SA is never directly responsible for these clubs. That falls under full-time staff, not our responsibility. We just simply here to make sure it's a club that students would want and stuff. So I truly feel like this is something that they have a lot of interest for. And there's a lot of students that want to do it. And so I feel that the liability and everything is something that would be handled by the club and not something that we should be maybe so caught up on because we've not worried about that with other previous ones in which have had just as high of a liability or more.
Is there any other discussion? All right, seeing none, seeing none, we'll now take a roll call vote. Chief of Staff Peterson, will you please call the roll?
Senators Anderson,
Aye.
Barnett,
Abstain.
Boweck,
Aye.
Bry,
Aye.
Christoffels,
Aye.
Derenge,
Aye.
Duncan,
Abstain.
Holland,
Aye.
Howell,
Aye.
Jensen,
Aye.
Campson,
Aye.
Lopez, Mollison,
Aye.
Podell,
Aye.
Pulse,
Aye.
Roca,
Abstain.
Shemek,
Aye.
Smith,
Aye.
Stein,
Aye.
Warfa,
Aye.
Finance Chair Delahoyd,
Aye.
Chief of Staff Peterson, aye. Vice President Ciro.
All right, the ayes have it, and the Green Bandana Club Constitution is approved. And with that, I will now relinquish the chair back to President Spear.
Chief of Staff Peterson sent out an email previously. As you may know, we have our GAF work session tonight that plans to go after this meeting. So we are doing all reports online and they'll be attached to the minutes. Oh, I apologize. Public comments? Any members of the public that would like to address the Senate tonight?
I would, Madam President.
Yep, come on up.
Oh, thank you, thank you. Getting some deja vu up here. No, no. My name is Hayden Benz. I am a student in the College of Natural Sciences, majoring in human biology from Rapid City, South Dakota originally. Also served on this body for 3 years of my time here at SDSU. I served as a senator at large my freshman year, and for the past 2 years as student body vice president. I wanted to discuss a couple things with you all tonight, but just wanted to briefly mention just the importance of student mental health for every student here on campus. I think it was an excellent thing. Last year, we had every senator do QPR training here on the Senate. I think that was a fantastic thing to do. It was somewhat difficult to get a good attendance at that event, unfortunately. But for those that were able to go, I think it was a very valuable opportunity and something that I would encourage every student to do at some point. I was very proud that we were able to offer that, and personally know a couple individuals who have lost their life to suicide. And it is an extremely important topic, a very prudent topic that we continue to have conversations on here on campus, in your home communities, and wherever you may find yourself in the future. But besides that, then, this is also something that I have spoken about 3 years prior and wanted to continue tonight, and that is November is Diabetes Awareness Month. And that is something that is very personal to myself. I myself am a type 1 diabetic, and many other students here at SDSU are as well. And that comes with a certain set of challenges that aren't often seen by many other people other than those that are very close to that individual. There's been multiple studies done on the amount of additional decisions that type 1 diabetics have to make throughout the day, and it ranges from anywhere to 180 to 300 additional decisions regarding oftentimes high-stakes scenarios. With regards to my own life, I sometimes refer to myself as a walking science experiment at some point, with just the ultimate decisions that I end up making throughout the day. But I just wanted to offer that out to you all, that November 14th is Diabetes Awareness Day. I would encourage every single person around this room, encourage your friends and family to wear blue on that day, just to show not only myself, but everyone else that has diabetes, their support. And funny, I was coming in here today planning on speaking about this, and I received a letter in the mail from one of, I never met this lady before, but I guess she's friends with my aunt. And her son had just been diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. And just reading the letter, it made me want to cry. I would never wish this disease on anyone else. And I just want you to know that some days aren't as easy as others, but just showing that support on that day would mean a lot to all of those people afflicted with that disease. And seeing, as I'm in here now, I also wanted to just take a moment and briefly touch on the piece of legislation that you all voted on last week as well, and that would pertain to campaign finance reform here on the Senate. I try to keep up with a little bit of what the Senate still does, as any good student at SDSU should. I'm sure you all know that's somewhat more sometimes difficult to get students to pay attention to what SA does, let alone even have them know what SA is here on campus. But in reading that, I saw a lot of good points in that, and I ended up being a little disappointed by the vote that the Senate ended up taking with regards to that piece of legislation. No piece of legislation is perfect, and I think it's a product of many different amendments that might be made to it and compromises made throughout the writing of it. Looking at the sponsors, I knew all of the sponsors at some point and knew that they are sound individuals that wouldn't bring anything to the floor that wasn't worth discussing. So I thank them for bringing that piece of legislation ultimately. And just wanted to offer a bit of context in terms of how that campaign spending limit was initially established on the Senate, and then where we hoped that would have gone moving forward then too. So that was first passed back in 2024 during the spring semester. I believe Dr. Willis was on leave at the time that we passed that. But that was really done in an effort to really kind of cap egregious spending on student government campaigns that were being run on campus. There was an example, I believe back in 2021, of a campaign that spent upwards of $10,000 on their campaign, which everyone is welcome to disagree, but I think that is an absolutely absurd amount of money to spend on a student government campaign. No student should have that amount of money, and if they do, I'd hope it's going to far better things than other than spending it on a student government election and trying to win. Donate it to type 1 diabetes research. I think that'd be a wonderful use of that money. So really, we kind of looked at that historical campaign spending and arrived at a figure of $2,500. That was a figure that President at the time, Trinity Peterson, and myself had spent on our previous campaign, and right around there. And we felt that that was an appropriate amount of money at the time to initially set that cap at. But along with that, we also included in that initial amendment that codified that spending limit, a clause within that amendment that required the Senate to reconsider that spending limit every single 2 years. And I don't know if that was a consideration in bringing this piece of legislation to the Senate, but I think that fulfilled that. And I think in looking at then just current spending and maybe what would be best going forward, I really liked the idea of then lowering it. I thought that we had already established that reasonableness that the law requires in terms of not limiting free speech. That was certainly a consideration when we first created that piece of legislation a couple of years ago, and was something that I had to reflect on myself quite extensively then too, if I was comfortable with that. And I listened to your debate last week, and Dr. Willis mentioned a lot about being willing to take that risk in establishing that. And that was something that I certainly reflected a lot on, was what amount of risk are we willing to take as a Senate, as a student body in establishing this. And ultimately, I think that risk has worked out for us. That campaign spending limit has been successful now for 2 election cycles, and I think has done a lot of good. For me, speaking personally, again, reasonable people can have reasonable disagreements on this, but I think a lower spending limit, in essence, makes that campaigner go out into the student body and engage with them in more of a grassroots fashion. I think it's a wonderful thing to spend a lot of money, throw a lot of events on for students, but I think at the end of the day, it's important for students to know what they're voting for, know what that candidate stands for, be willing to have discussions with that candidate on what issues matter to them, but also what issues matter for that student that they're discussing with. And I think you can really accomplish that by walking around the residence halls and stopping people. Maybe as awkward as it is for them, it's as equally as awkward for that candidate then too, but just having that discussions, introducing yourself. I think that is at the heart of any representative democracy, the very best way that you can interact with your constituents. And I think that lowering that campaign spending limit would have really accomplished that. So I think looking forward, I would really encourage all of you to reconsider the ideas presented in that piece of legislation. I think it had a lot of really, really prudent things worthy of discussion in that, and I was really delighted by the debate you all had last week too, and listening to that. Sometimes it was a struggle to get anyone to talk during a debate, and sometimes all it takes is a controversial piece of legislation to warrant that. But I was really, really delighted to see the debate that you all had. Another point that was brought up in that piece of legislation as well too, that I really, really did like, was ensuring, codifying, I think something that's been a good practice in campaign finance reporting, but simply establishing that in our bylaws, was that I believe it was if a donation over than $200 is made to a campaign, that individual who made that contribution be publicly available. And I think that is certainly in line with federal election regulations, and something that I think, regardless if you don't want to do anything with the spending limit, I think that piece alone is something that would be worthy of coming back to the Senate with, and having that be its own standalone piece of legislation in terms of an amendment. There are many, many entities, large, small, that seek to have influence in student government spending. I know some of these entities. I've interacted with some of these entities. I truly question what the motivations of a group such as that are in seeking to have that undue influence over elected officials within a student government. Student governments and students, they should seek to serve their fellow students and not any kind of an outside entity. So I would just question if you don't think that that exists. It most certainly does. As I said, I know of these groups and organizations. I don't believe they have any place here at SDSU or any campus across the country for that fact. At the end of the day, we're here to represent our fellow students. I think that is the greatest thing that we can do as representatives of our student body. So hold your elected officials accountable, hold your leadership accountable in making sure that they're transparent with where they receive funding from, that they're being honest with what their intentions are with that campaign spending. So with that, I'll get off my soapbox here. I'll let the old guy go sit back down. But thank you for your time. I appreciate the opportunity to come and speak to you all. It's nice to see some familiar faces here and see some new faces here that are eager to serve the student body as well. So thank you.
All right. As I said earlier, Chief of Staff Peterson previously sent out an email regarding reports for tonight. Because we have our GAF work session, we decided that all reports are going to be online attached to the minutes. I asked that you get those into Chief of Staff Peterson as soon as possible, but for the remainder, I do have to call. So unless it's something quite important, not only would I encourage everyone to read the minutes, as we all do every week, and then I would ask that you say no report. No report. Vice President Sierra. Chief Staff Peterson. No report. Finance Chair Delahoyd. No report. Government Affairs Chair Hunt. Communications Chair Ringenberg. No report. Diversity Liaison Alex. AFA. AISA. No report. BSA. No report. GSA. No report. IRC. No report. Hero. No report. LASA. No report. IFC, United Council, report. United Council, report. RHA, no report. UPC, no report. Advisor Willis, no report. And are there any committees that would like to report out tonight? Again, I strongly encourage everyone to read the minutes and attach your detailed admit or report to that. Seeing that there is no unfinished business, we are going to move on to new business, item A, resolution 25-5-R. Chief of Staff Peterson, would you please introduce?
Resolution 25-5-R. Title of resolution reads, South Dakota State University Student Association commits to establishing a temporary task force for fiscal year 27 general activity fee reallocation. Prime sponsors include President Spear, Vice President Sierra, Chief of Staff Peterson, and Finance Chair Delahoyd. Sponsors include Government Affairs Chair Hunt, Communications Chair Ringenberg, Diversity Liaison Alex, and Senator Bolweg.
I apologize, we are in unfinished business. Apparently the sky is green today for Sophie. Is anyone request that this item be read in full? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve resolution 25-5-R. Okay. I would entertain a motion to approve resolution 25-5-R. Senator Christoffels. Senator Christoffels, first right to debate.
Yeah, considering we're going tonight, I think it's pretty important that we establish for that. So.
Further discussion? Senator Howell.
Yeah, more of a question for the sponsors and maybe discussion of maybe the thought process behind having a task force rather than just having this as a responsibility that the Finance Committee takes up, and what your take on that was.
Yeah, for sure. Finance Chair Delahoyd, you can say whatever, but I think that for GAF, we wanted a little bit more perspective than just the Finance Committee, and especially also Finance Committee, as we all know, tends to actually go until about 10 p.m. every Wednesday. So, while I love spending time with the Finance Committee, and I know we all thoroughly enjoy Finance Fun Time as well, I recognize that the Finance Committee is not the only voices that matter on the Senate, and I think the GAF vote is something that's ubiquitous to everyone. So, that's why we decided to open it up. Finance Chair Delahoyd.
Yeah, I would say the same thing with the fact that we didn't want it to be limited to the members only of the Finance Committee. So we felt that senators from all colleges and all the at-larges really would have a role in playing this, since it is GAF money and it does go out to the students as a survey, whatever we do finally decide. So we really want to have the most input, so we're not putting something out to the students that they are like, no way, and then we have to go back and redo this whole process. Yeah, it was really, we wanted to have the most input we could. We felt this was the most efficient way, especially after discussing it with our advisors and stuff too. So we just felt this was the best way.
Sorry, I'm full of questions tonight. Do you have, and maybe I just missed it in reading this, how many folks are going to be on this committee?
So similar with the other task force, I did not set a limit because I wouldn't want to deny someone just because of a number in a piece of legislation. That being said, if the entire Senate decides to join, I think that might be a really long meeting and then we can reassess then, but that's why. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we will take this to a roll call vote. Chief of Staff Peterson, please call the roll.
Vice President Sierra.
Aye.
Chief of Staff Peterson, aye. Finance Chair Delahoyd.
Aye.
Senators Warfa.
Aye.
Stein.
Aye.
Smith.
Aye.
Shemek.
Aye.
Roca.
Aye.
Pulse. Podell.
Aye.
Mollison.
Aye.
Lopez.
Aye.
Campson.
Aye.
Jensen.
Aye.
Howell.
Abstain.
Holland.
Aye.
Duncan.
Aye.
Darinch.
Aye.
Christoffels.
Aye.
Fry.
Aye.
Bolwig.
Aye.
Barnett.
Aye.
Anderson.
Aye.
You guys have it. Resolution 25-5-R is approved. All right, moving on to new business, item now A, commemoration 25-2-C. Chief of Staff Peterson, would you please introduce this item?
Commemoration 25-2-C. Title of commemoration reads, The South Dakota State University Student Association recognizes and celebrates November 1st to November 31st to honor Native American Heritage Month and invites all students to join the American Indian Student Association and the American Indian Science and Engineering Society and their events during the month. Prime sponsor includes Diversity Liaison Alex. Sponsors include President Spear, Vice President Sierra, Chief of Staff Peterson, Finance Chair Delahoyd, Government Affairs Chair Hunt, Communications Chair Ringenberg, Senators Bolwig, Stein, Christoffels, Shemek, and Jensen.
Would anyone request that this item be read in full? Diversity Liaison Alex. Chief of Staff Peterson's been requested.
Commemoration 25-2-C. Title of commemoration reads, The South Dakota State University Student Association recognizes and celebrates November 1st to November 31st to honor Native American Heritage Month and invites all students to join the American Indian Student Association and the American Indian Science and Engineering Society and their events during the month. Whereas, Native American Heritage Month is a time to recognize American Indian peoples and their contributions to the United States of America and the world, and whereas the American Indian Student Center is home to the American Indian Students Association and the American Indian Science and Engineering Society, and whereas for almost 100 years, Americans, both Indian and non-Indian, have urged that there be a permanently designated place on the calendar to honor their contributions, achievements, sacrifices, and cultural and historical legacy of the original inhabitants of what is now the United States and their descendants, the American Indian and Alaska Native people. And whereas November was chosen for Native American Heritage Month because it is a time when many Native American tribes historically gather for cultural, spiritual, and social events, and whereas Indigenous relatives and others with economic and social vulnerabilities, including poverty, homelessness, substance use, mental health concerns, cultural and community disconnection, and generational trauma, are at increased risk of experiencing violence and exploitation, going missing, and being murdered, whereas the students of South Dakota State University should be open to learning more about diverse communities on campus and going to events and meetings hosted by these communities, such as the AISE's meetings taking place on the 5th and 19th of November. Therefore, be it commemorated, the South Dakota State University Student Association recognizes Native American Heritage Month from November 1st to November 30th as a time to learn more about the American Indian culture, traditions, and customs by partaking in events and attending meetings hosted by the American Indian Students Association and the American Indian Science and Engineering Society on campus.
Thank you. We will vote on that next week. That is it. Senator Howell.
Sorry, this is going to be unconventional, but I would like to move to suspend the rule for the first reading of this to take this item up to be passed tonight with the first meeting hosted by the American Indian Student Center to be on the 5th. I just feel that it would be good to pass this and let the student body see this as I am a business that was transacted before that meeting. So I would request to suspend the rule for the first reading and recognize I should have done that earlier, and this is an unconventional way to do it, but I would move to suspend the rule for that first reading.
Are there any objections to suspending that rule?
There would need to be a second, and it requires a two-thirds vote.
It was seconded, so moved and seconded, and just so everyone's on the same page, Senator Howell would like to essentially waive the first reading of this commemoration, essentially as if we were to amend the agenda as we did previously. And then like Dr. Will said, we will need a 2/3 vote on this one, so let's do a roll call vote.
Senators Anderson.
Aye.
Barnett.
Aye.
Bolweg.
Aye.
Bry.
Aye.
Christoffels. Derenge.
Aye.
Duncan.
Aye.
Holland.
Aye.
Howell.
Aye.
Jensen.
Aye.
Campson.
Aye.
Lopez.
Aye.
Mollison.
Aye.
Podell.
Aye.
Pulse.
Aye.
Roca.
Aye.
Shemmick.
Aye.
Smith.
Aye.
Stein.
Aye.
Warfa.
Aye.
Finance Chair Delahoyd.
Aye.
Chief of Staff Peterson. Aye. Vice President Sierra.
All right, it has been, the ayes have it, and we will suspend the rule for the first reading on this one. I will then entertain a motion to approve this commemoration. Senator Stein.
Second.
Senator Stein, you have the first right to speak. Oh my.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Senator Howell. I think this does need to be passed tonight. With that being said, I do agree that this is something that is important that needs to be recognized within our Senate, and I encourage everyone to vote aye.
Finance Chair Delahoyd.
Can I make a friendly amendment to this, to change it to November 30th? Only 30 days. The first part, it's correct later on, but.
So it's been moved to friendly amend. Seconded. It has been moved and seconded to friendly amend to be November 30th rather than 31st. Are there any objections to this amendment? Being that it's friendly, we'll do a voice vote. All those in favor of amending this to say November 30th, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Alrighty, it is amended. And we will now return to the previous motion of passing these approved, or I apologize, of approving the amended commemoration. Any further discussion? All right, seeing none, we'll take this to a roll call vote with the amended version.
Vice President Sierra.
Aye.
Chief of Staff Peterson. Aye. Finance Chair Delahoyd.
Aye.
Senators Warfa.
Aye.
Stein.
Aye.
Smith.
Aye.
Shemmick.
Aye.
Roca.
Aye.
Pulse.
Aye.
Podell.
Aye.
Mollison.
Aye.
Lopez. Campson.
Aye.
Jensen.
Aye.
Howell.
Aye.
Holland.
Aye.
Duncan.
Aye.
Derenge.
Aye.
Christoffels.
Aye.
Bry.
Aye.
Bolweg.
Aye.
Barnett.
Aye.
Anderson.
The ayes have it, and commemoration 25-2-C is approved. All right, moving on to new business, item C, Jack's Cupboard new venture application. Is there a motion to approve this application? Finance Chair Delahoyd.
This on behalf of the Finance Committee,
Second.
so second.
Sorry.
But it's just new business, so it's not.
Okay, motion has been taken back.
It's just.
Chief Staff Peterson, can you please introduce this item? Jack's Cupboard New Venture Fund Request, Wednesday, October 29th, 2025. The Finance Committee met with representatives from Jack's Cupboard on Wednesday, October 29th, 2025 at 8:05 p.m. in the Peterson Conference Room. In attendance was Finance Chair Delahoyd, Senators Anderson, Stein, Pulse, Shemmick, Roca, Christoffels, Chief of Staff Peterson, Vice President Sierra, and President Spear. After discussion with the Jack's Cupboard representatives, the Finance Committee arrived at a unanimous recommendation of approving Jack's Cupboard's new venture application, awarding them an amount of $600 from the fiscal year 26 New Venture Fund. With the approval of the Senate, Jack's Cupboard will be placed on the general budget starting in fiscal year 27, which runs from July 1st, 2026 through June 30th, 2027. The amount awarded to Jack's Cupboard for fiscal year 27 and each fiscal year following will be decided during the general budget allocation process that takes place each spring for the next fiscal year. Any questions or concerns should be directed to Finance Chair Delahoyd.
As this is new business, we will vote on this next week. Moving on to new business, item D, SDSU Pheasants Forever New Venture. Chief Staff Peterson, please introduce this item.
Pheasants Forever at South Dakota State University's New Venture Fund request, Wednesday, October 29th, 2025. The Finance Committee met with representatives from Pheasants Forever at South Dakota State University on Wednesday, October 29th, 2025 at 8:45 p.m. in the Peterson Conference Room. In attendance was Finance Chair Delahoyd, Senators Anderson, Stein, Pulse, Shemek, Roca, Christoffels, Chief of Staff Peterson, Vice President Sierra, and President Spear. After discussion with the Pheasants Forever representatives, the Finance Committee arrived at a unanimous recommendation of approving the Pheasants Forever at South Dakota State University's New Venture application, awarding them an amount of $0 from the fiscal year 26 New Venture Fund. With the approval of the Senate, Pheasants Forever will be placed on the general budget starting in fiscal year 27, which runs from July 1st, 2026 through June 30th, 2027. The amount awarded to Pheasants Forever for fiscal year 27 and each fiscal year following will be decided during the general budget allocation process that takes place each spring for the next fiscal year. Any questions or concerns should be directed to Finance Chair Delahoyd.
Right, we will vote on this next week. So we'll move on to topics for future discussion. Are there any topics for future discussion? Seeing none, we'll move on to announcements. Again, we have our GAF work session after this. It is not required by any means, but we strongly encourage you, if you have the time to spend for this productive kind of brainstorming session about how we want to reallocate this $1.83. And then obviously, if you'd like to be on the GAP task force, I strongly encourage senators to consider this. And if you're interested, please email me tonight or by tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. 9 a.m. Other announcements. Chief Staff Peterson.
If you have not sent me a report for tonight and you have one that you want on the agenda, please send it to me by 9 p.m. Otherwise, you can give it next week. Thank you.
Further announcements. Right. Seeing none, we'll move on to adjournment. Are there any? Can I get a motion to approve to adjourn? Senator Stein. All those in favor of adjourning, please signify by saying aye. All opposed? We're adjourned. Okay, we'll give probably everyone a couple minutes to stretch, and then we can get started.
You know,
I've got a date. Beyonce sometime. I'm gonna be gone. I'm gonna be gone when you do this anyway. It's ridiculous. I've got a hot date tonight. I think it's right here.